Have you ever looked at an ordinary coin, one that's been lying around for decades, and wondered, could this be worth a fortune? What if I told you that a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar, a coin that many people barely notice, is surrounded by rumors that it could be worth thousands, even $1 million in rare cases? Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the twist. Behind these small, shiny pieces of history lie stories, secrets, and a few surprises that might just make you check every coin in your collection twice. Before you spend that half-dollar, you might want to watch this video till the very end, because today, we're diving deep into one of the most talked-about coins in American history, the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar. And by the time we're done, you'll know exactly which ones could be hiding true value, and which are just shiny memories of a different time. Let's start with a simple fact. Most people think coins from the 1970s aren't worth much. After all, millions were made, right? But here's where the story gets interesting. Not every 1972 D half-dollar is created equal. Some carry tiny minting differences, hidden varieties, and even rare striking errors that make collectors go wild. A few of them have sold for eye-popping amounts, far beyond their 50-cent face value. Still, the question remains, is it really possible for one of these coins to be worth $1 million? That's what we're going to uncover today. But before we talk numbers, let's talk mystery. Imagine holding a piece of metal that connects you directly to a moment of American heartbreak and pride. A coin that doesn't just represent currency, it represents memory. The Kennedy half-dollar wasn't born from ordinary circumstances. It was created as a tribute, a symbol of unity after tragedy, a coin struck in memory of a beloved president whose life was cut short. That's what makes this coin series so powerful. Every time you hold a Kennedy half-dollar, you're not just touching a piece of silver and copper, you're holding a story, a tribute to a leader who changed the nation. And the 1972 D version, minted in Denver, carries its own unique place in that story. But here's where things get even more interesting. Around the coin community, there are whispers, collectors claiming that certain 1972 D half-dollars show unusual details, missing initials, double strikes, or striking mistakes that set them apart from the rest. These tiny imperfections can turn a regular coin into something extraordinary. Some are so rare, they've been sold in major auctions for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars. Now imagine this. You're sorting through an old jar of coins at home, maybe one's passed down from a grandparent, and suddenly you see that small D mint mark below Kennedy's neck. Could it be one of those valuable ones? Could you be holding a treasure in disguise? That's the excitement collectors live for, the thrill of discovery, the mystery of rarity, and the dream that a coin you thought was worthless might actually carry a hidden fortune. But as with any legend, not everything you hear is true. Some claim that these coins are worth millions, and while it's true that certain mint errors can reach impressive prices, the $1 million half-dollar is mostly a rumor, one fueled by online hype and misinterpretation. Still, behind every rumor lies a spark of truth, and that's what we're going to find out as we explore the full story. Because the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar isn't just about money, it's about meaning. It's about a nation healing through symbols, about design, craftsmanship, and the quiet persistence of memory. And that's why, even after more than 50 years, this coin continues to fascinate collectors and historians alike. So don't go anywhere. By the end of this video, you'll not only know whether your coin is valuable, but you'll also understand why it holds such a special place in American numismatic history. Coming up next, we'll travel back in time to see how and why the Kennedy half-dollar was created, what made the 1972 Denver issue stand out, and how this coin became one of the most recognizable symbols of American pride. Stay tuned, because the story is just getting started. When we talk about the Kennedy half-dollar, we're not just talking about a coin. We're talking about a symbol, a piece of American history that was born out of shock, sorrow, and hope. To truly understand the 1972 D version, we need to go back almost a decade earlier, to one of the most heartbreaking moments in U.S. history. It was November 22, 1963, when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. The nation was left in disbelief. Streets went silent, schools closed early, and people everywhere stood in front of their televisions, unable to process what had happened. America had lost not only a president but a symbol of youth, optimism, and progress. Just days after that tragic moment, the idea of honoring Kennedy through the nation's coinage took root. Mint officials, members of Congress, and the public wanted something that could carry his memory forward, something that every American could hold in their hands as a tribute. And so, the Kennedy half-dollar was born. By early 1964, the design process was already in motion. Time was short. They wanted to release the coin as soon as possible to honor Kennedy's legacy. Two artists were chosen for this historic task. Gilroy Roberts, who designed the obverse, front, featuring Kennedy's portrait, and Frank Gasparo, who designed the reverse, back, showcasing the presidential seal with a bold American eagle spreading its wings. The first Kennedy half-dollars were struck in 1964, and they were made of 90% silver. The demand was overwhelming. Americans rushed to get them, not to spend, but to keep, as keepsakes, memorials, and symbols of respect. In fact, so many people hoarded them that they rarely appeared in everyday circulation. By 1971, however, silver was removed from circulating half-dollars due to rising metal costs. The coins were now made of a copper-nickel clad composition, which is what you'll find in your 1972 D half-dollar. It looked silver, but it wasn't, though the emotional value remained priceless. Now, let's zoom in on the year 1972. The U.S. was still transitioning through economic changes, and coin production at the Denver Mint was booming. The Denver facility, known for its precision and efficiency, struck over 141 million Kennedy half-dollars that year, making the 1972 D one of the most common in the series. But don't let those numbers fool you. Quantity doesn't mean every coin is the same. Within those millions, a few slip through with unique characteristics that make collectors' hearts race even today. Some have missing designer initials, FG, others have doubling in the lettering, and some show unusual strike errors. And while most are worth face value, those rare ones can climb into the hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and rarity. Back in 1972, these coins were everywhere, in wallets, vending machines, and cash registers. They carried Kennedy's image into everyday life, a constant reminder of a leader lost too soon. For many Americans, it felt personal. Holding that coin was like holding a piece of history, a symbol of hope and pride during uncertain times. Now, here's something most people don't realize. The Kennedy half-dollar wasn't meant to become just another coin. It was meant to carry a message. The decision to use Kennedy's face wasn't about replacing another president or design. It was about healing a nation through shared memory. It was about unity. Even the reverse design carries meaning. That eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch, represents both strength and peace, the very ideals Kennedy spoke of during his presidency. The circle of stars above it reflects unity, while the rays bursting behind it symbolize new beginnings. Every element of that coin is a message to the American people. By the time we get to 1972, the coin had become deeply ingrained in American culture. It wasn't rare to see people collecting rolls of Kennedy halves, keeping them for their children or saving them as mementos. The coin's popularity was unmatched, even though it wasn't commonly used in everyday purchases. And for coin collectors, the Denver Mint mark, that small D right below Kennedy's neck, became a point of focus. It was a symbol of where the coin was born, but it also meant something more. Denver-struck coins were known for sharper details, cleaner edges, and fewer striking flaws. Yet even with that precision, a few unusual ones escaped quality control, and those are the ones that later fueled the rare 1972 D legends. So, when you hold your 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar, you're holding more than just 50 cents. You're holding a piece of American resilience, a tribute to a president whose dream of progress lives on in every tiny detail of that design. From tragedy came tribute. From sorrow came symbolism. And from a simple half-dollar came one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. But the real mystery begins when we take a closer look at its design and hidden details, because there's more to this coin than meets the eye. Tiny engravings, initials, and subtle features can completely change its value. So, in the next part, we'll break down the design and symbolism of the 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar, and reveal what each mark, letter, and symbol truly means. Because in coin collecting, the smallest details can make the biggest difference. Stay tuned, things are about to get even more fascinating. When you hold a 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar in your hand, you're not just looking at a coin, you're looking at a masterpiece of design and a story told through symbols. Every curve, line, and engraving has meaning. Every mark connects to a moment in American history. Let's start with the obverse, the front side of the coin, the side that proudly displays the portrait of President John F. Kennedy. This design was created by Gilroy Roberts, who had actually designed Kennedy's official presidential medal before his death. That's why, when the decision was made to honor him on the $50, Roberts' medal design was adapted almost immediately, with only minor adjustments. Look closely at that portrait. Kennedy's gaze is firm, confident, and directed slightly toward the future. It wasn't just an artistic choice, it was deliberate. Roberts wanted Kennedy to be looking forward, representing hope, progress, and leadership. Even Kennedy's hair was carefully sculpted, strong lines, detailed waves, to symbolize vitality and energy. The coin had to capture not just his face, but his spirit. Above his head, you'll see the word, liberty. It's not just a word on this coin, it's the essence of what Kennedy stood for. Across the bottom, you'll find the phrase, "In God We Trust," divided by Kennedy's neck, another intentional design element to symbolize balance between faith and leadership. And just below Kennedy's neck is that small but important D mint mark, standing for Denver, the mint where your coin was produced. It's subtle, but for collectors, it's one of the first details to notice. It's what tells you your coin's birthplace, and in the world of coin collecting, where a coin comes from can make all the difference. Now, if you look even closer, you'll find the initials GR, the tiny signature of Gilroy Roberts, tucked neatly on Kennedy's neck truncation. It's easy to miss unless you know where to look. These initials are small but powerful. They tell us this coin was made by an artist who understood the emotion behind every curve and line. But here's something that makes the 1972 D $50 particularly interesting. Some coins from this year were struck in such a way that the designer's initials, especially those of Frank Gasparo, who designed the reverse, are missing or faint. Those no FG coins have become one of the most talked about varieties in the entire Kennedy $50 series. We'll get into those rare varieties soon, but first, let's turn the coin over to its reverse side, because this is where the symbolism truly shines. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential seal, an American bald eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other. The arrows represent military strength and defense, while the olive branch represents peace. Together, they symbolize America's readiness to protect peace through strength, an ideal that Kennedy often spoke about during his presidency. Surrounding the eagle are 50 stars, representing the 50 states of the Union. Above the eagle's head floats a ring of glory, rays of light that symbolize enlightenment and hope. In its beak, the eagle holds a scroll inscribed with the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's the perfect message for a coin honoring a president who believed deeply in unity and collective strength. Now take a look at the details, the feathers, the claws, the arrows. The 1972 D coins were struck with incredible precision, but variations still occur. Sometimes the strike is weak. Other times, details like the tail feathers or the FG initials below the eagle's tail feathers appear faint or missing. That tiny space under the eagle's right leg, that's where Gasparo's initials, FG, are supposed to appear. When they don't, that coin instantly becomes a potential rarity. It's amazing to think that something so small, the presence or absence of two little letters, can change a coin's value from 50 cents to several $100s. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. Details matter. Even the edge of the coin tells a story. The reeded edge, with its fine grooves, was designed not just for style but for function. Back in older silver coin days, it prevented dishonest people from shaving small amounts of metal off the edges, a clever feature carried forward into modern coins for tradition and consistency. And let's not forget the composition. By 1972, the Kennedy $50 was made of copper-nickel clad, a sandwich of copper core with nickel coating on both sides. Though it lost its silver content, it didn't lose its shine. That silvery color still gave it a rich, elegant appearance. One reason the Kennedy $50 always looked more prestigious than a regular coin in your change. For collectors, design is more than beauty, it's identity. Every coin tells a story of the era it was minted in. The 1972 D. Kennedy $50 captures the spirit of 1970s America, a country still inspired by Kennedy's legacy, still reaching for progress, and still honoring its heroes through symbols that last generations. So the next time you look at your 1972 D. $50, take a moment to really see it. The eagle, the stars, the strength of Kennedy's portrait, it's not just metal. It's art, it's memory, and it's a reflection of American values cast in copper and nickel. But what if your coin has something unusual about its design? What if there's a doubled word, a faint initial, or a missing mark? Could that be a sign of rarity? In the next part, we'll explore the minting errors and varieties that make certain 1972 D. Kennedy half dollars stand out from the rest, and discover how to tell if your coin could be one of the valuable ones hiding in plain sight. Get ready, because Part 4 is where things get exciting for collectors. Now that we understand the design and symbolism behind the 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar, it's time to dive into what makes this coin truly fascinating, the errors and varieties that slipped through the minting process and turned ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. Because here's the truth, when millions of coins are produced at lightning speed, mistakes are bound to happen. But in the world of coin collecting, a mistake can be the most valuable thing of all. Let's start with the most talked about variety of them all, the no FG error. If you flip your 1972 D half dollar over and look at the space just below the eagle's right leg, to the left of the tail feathers, you'll find two tiny letters, FG, the initials of Frank Gasparo, the designer of the reverse. On some 1972 D coins, these initials are either extremely faint or completely missing. How could that happen? Well, during the minting process, the dies used to strike the coins can wear down, get filled with grease, or become polished too much during maintenance. When that happens, small design details like those initials can disappear. It might sound like a tiny flaw, but collectors love it, because it's rare, and it gives your coin a unique identity. A genuine 1972 D, no FG, Kennedy half dollar in pristine condition can fetch anywhere from $200 to $500, depending on its grade and clarity of the missing initials. Some have even sold for more when certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Now, imagine that. A coin you could find in loose change or a coin jar at home, suddenly worth hundreds because of two missing letters. That's the kind of story that excites every collector. But the no FG isn't the only interesting variety from 1972. Let's talk about doubling errors, the mysterious and often beautiful results of slight misalignments during striking. A doubled die occurs when the die used to imprint the coin's design is struck more than once at slightly different angles. This can cause the lettering, date, or details of Kennedy's profile to appear doubled. It's not a post-mint damage, it's a genuine minting variety, and collectors love spotting them. On a 1972 D half dollar, look carefully at areas like Liberty, In God We Trust, or Kennedy's eye and hairline. Under magnification, you might see doubled outlines or overlapping impressions. That's a strong sign of a doubled die strike. Depending on how visible the doubling is and how well the coin is preserved, values can range from $50 to several $100s, especially for sharply defined examples. Then there's another favorite among collectors, the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, called a planchet, isn't properly aligned between the dies during striking. The result: part of the design is missing or shifted to one side, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area on the coin. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. Minor off-centers might only bring $20 to $40, but dramatic ones with visible mint marks can sell for hundreds of dollars. Next, we have clipped planchet errors. These occur when the blank metal sheets used to cut coin planchets overlap slightly, causing small crescent-shaped clips on the coin's edge. These errors are quite eye-catching, and collectors love them because each one is unique. A clipped planchet 1972 D half dollar can easily reach $100 or more depending on the size and shape of the clip. And here's something even rarer: the struck-through errors. Sometimes, during the minting process, bits of cloth, wire, grease, or even metal shavings get caught between the die and the planchet. When that happens, the object leaves an impression on the coin's surface. If you ever find a 1972 D half dollar with strange indents, textures, or missing design areas that look unusual but aren't caused by wear or damage, you might have a struck-through error. Depending on the object and clarity, these can fetch from $50 up to $500 or more. Now, not all rare varieties come from mistakes. Some come from subtle differences between the dies themselves. Each die used to strike coins has a lifespan, and when one wears out, it's replaced by another, sometimes with minor differences in spacing, font thickness, or relief. That's why even within the same year and mint mark, you can find micro-variations that specialists love to study. One of the key lessons for anyone interested in the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar is this. Always inspect your coins carefully. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe is your best friend. Small details like missing initials, doubled lettering, or misplaced mint marks can completely change a coin's worth. But let's address something important, the million-dollar rumor. If you search online, you'll see people claiming that a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar sold for over $1 million. These stories circulate every few years, and while they make for great headlines, the truth is simpler and still exciting. There's no verified record of a 1972 D. half-dollar selling for anywhere near that figure. However, some era coins and high-grade examples have sold for impressive prices. A pristine, mint-state 1972 D with perfect luster and strong strike, graded MS-67 or higher, can sell for $800 to $1,000 or more. And coins with a rare no FG variety in top condition have reached similar figures. So while the million-dollar coin might be a myth, the potential for serious value is absolutely real. Collectors are not just chasing numbers, they're chasing history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery. Finding that one coin with a unique flaw feels like finding buried treasure in your own home. And here's the most thrilling part, these coins are still out there. The Kennedy half-dollar was produced in such massive quantities that people continue to find hidden rarities even today. Old coin rolls, inherited collections, or even pocket change could hide one of these valuable pieces. So, the next time you come across a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar, don't just glance at it, study it. Check for the missing initials. Examine the lettering. Look at Kennedy's profile. Every detail might be holding a secret. Because in the world of coin collecting, the smallest imperfection can make the biggest fortune. But before we reveal the real worth of this coin and separate the myths from the truth, let's understand how collectors and grading experts determine a coin's value, and how you can know if your 1972 D. half-dollar is truly worth something special. In the next part, we'll explore Part 5, Value, Grading, and the reality behind the million-dollar rumors, where we uncover how much these coins are really worth today, what factors raise their price, and how close those famous rumors come to reality. Stay tuned, because the truth might surprise you. Now that we know where the coin came from, how it looks, and what it stands for, let's talk about what everyone's been waiting for, its value. Because at the end of the day, we all want to know, could this little silver-colored coin actually be worth a fortune? Here's where things get interesting. Most 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollars are made of copper-nickel clad, not real silver. After 1970, the U.S. Mint stopped using silver for circulating halves. Only special collector issues kept that composition. So, the 1972 D isn't a silver coin in normal cases. Its metal melt value is just a few cents. But that's not the whole story. When it comes to coins, condition, rarity, and mint errors can completely flip the script. A coin that's worn and scratched might only fetch 50 cents, but a pristine, untouched example, especially one graded MS-67 or higher by a professional service, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And here's the shocker, a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar in MS-68 condition once sold for over $4,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that most people spend without a second thought could be worth more than a luxury vacation, all because of its flawless surface and sharp strike. But that's not the only case where value jumps. Certain errors and varieties turn ordinary 1972 D halves into collectible treasures. There are examples with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even double die obverse where Kennedy's profile or the inscriptions appear slightly doubled. These errors can easily push prices from $50 to $1,000 or more, depending on visibility and condition. And here's where the million-dollar rumor began. Some collectors started claiming that a few 1972 D halves were made on leftover 40% silver planchets, the kind used for 1970 issues, making them extremely rare. The story spread fast online, with some even suggesting that one of these silver-struck 1972 D coins could be worth up to $1 million. Sounds incredible, right? But before we get carried away, let's slow down, because we're about to uncover the truth behind those viral claims. Many experts have looked into these stories. So far, no verified silver 1972 D half has ever been officially confirmed by the U.S. Mint or any major grading company. However, there have been coins tested and found to have slightly higher silver traces than normal, likely due to contamination or leftover blanks from earlier production runs. Still, those are worth a few $100s at best, not millions. But here's the beauty of coin collecting: possibility. Until every single coin is checked, there's always that what if. And that's what keeps collectors hooked, that dream of finding the one coin everyone else overlooked. So if you have a 1972 D-half in your collection, especially one in near-perfect condition, don't dismiss it too fast. Get it checked, maybe even graded, because you never know what secret it might hold. In the next part, we'll separate fact from fiction once and for all. We'll break down exactly why the $1 million rumor started, what experts actually say about it, and how to spot the real high-value 1972 D coins from ordinary ones. Stay with me, because the next few minutes will completely change how you look at this coin forever. Alright, this is the part you've all been waiting for: the truth about the $1 million rumor surrounding the 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar. You've probably seen videos or posts online claiming that this coin could make you a millionaire overnight. Some even show images of shiny, silver-like half-dollars and call them secret silver errors from Denver Mint, coins supposedly struck on leftover silver planchets that slipped through undetected. But how much of that is actually true? Let's uncover it. The rumor first started on online coin forums and spread through social media groups in the 2000s. A few collectors noticed that some 1972 D-halves looked slightly different, a little brighter, a little heavier, and they jumped to a bold conclusion: these must be silver. People started testing them, comparing weights, and sharing photos. Suddenly, the internet was flooded with claims that there was a hidden batch of silver 1972 D coins, and that one could be worth millions. But here's the truth according to experts and the U.S. Mint. The 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar was struck entirely in copper-nickel clad, not silver. By that time, the Mint had completely phased out silver for circulation. The last 40% silver halves were minted only for collector sets in 1970, and none were intended for circulation afterward. So where did the confusion come from? It turns out that a few planchets from earlier runs, those 40% silver blanks, might have accidentally remained in the machinery and got struck with 1972 D dies. That's what some collectors believe, though no such coin has been officially authenticated. If such a coin were ever confirmed, yes, it would be rare and valuable, perhaps worth tens of thousands, but not millions. Let's be honest, the $1 million figure is a myth, a product of exaggeration, misunderstanding, and internet hype. However, this doesn't mean your 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar is worthless. Far from it. Collectors love these coins for their historical value, design, and emotional connection to President Kennedy. Plus, if your coin happens to have high-grade, mirror-like surfaces or striking errors, it can still fetch hundreds or even a few $1,000s. Here's how you can separate real value from viral hype. 1. Check the weight. A genuine clad 1972 D half weighs about 11.34 grams, while a 40% silver planchet would weigh slightly more, around 11.5 grams. 2. Look at the edge. The clad coin's edge shows a visible copper line, but a silver planchet will look more solid gray with little to no copper tone. 3. Get it verified. If your coin seems unusual, have it graded by PCGS or NGC, the top professional services in the U.S. They'll confirm authenticity and condition. One thing is for sure, the 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar has achieved legendary status in the coin world, not because it made anyone a millionaire, but because it symbolizes that spark of hope, mystery, and curiosity that drives collectors everywhere. It reminds us that every coin tells a story, sometimes of history, sometimes of mystery, and sometimes of pure imagination. So yes, while the $1 million rumor is mostly fiction, the thrill of the hunt is very real. Every time you check your pocket change or open an old coin jar, there's that tiny chance, that whisper of possibility, that maybe, just maybe, you'll find something extraordinary. And that's what makes coin collecting so special. It's not just about money, it's about stories, legacy, and the hunt for hidden treasures. But before we wrap up, let's take a final look at what makes the 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar such a lasting icon, from its connection to history to why collectors still chase it today.